Equitable education, to me, is seeing a level playing field in the classroom. It means you take everybody at where they're at and help them to grow, no matter what. And I like to have that variety in my classroom because I think we all grow from that.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Jacobs. I'm the elementary principal for Westside and Grayside Elementary Schools. Equitable education is really giving all students what they need, and really it encompasses a wide variety of educational models, programs, and strategies. And this is fair to all students because we're giving them what they personally need.
Hi, my name is Becky Scott. I'm a special ed teacher at Westside Elementary School. It looks like organized chaos, I think, is the best way to describe it. It looks like everybody doing what they need to do to meet their needs the best that they can. So the teacher doing different lessons, having small groups, allowing children to be on iPads, to be on ball chairs, to be on whatever they need to be on or with to have the best learning experience that they can.
My name is Chris Rickard. I teach first grade here at Westside. To me, it is making sure that all students are included. Every kid has the right, it's a civil rights issue in my opinion. Every kid has the right to have access to their grade level curriculum and their peers, and they deserve to have the chance to know their friends and for their friends to know them and to make friendships that are going to last through their lifetime.
So equitable education is where each student gets exactly what he or she needs to succeed in an inclusive setting.
Miss Betty Nassett, and I'm the interventionist for the Mauston School District. Equitable education looks to me like we are giving all of the kids the same opportunity to learn. So if we need to differentiate for kids that need a little more, then we do that.
To us, equitable education gives all students an opportunity to learn and to be exposed to similar curriculum, social opportunities, and peer interactions, regardless of what ability level they're working at. It's teaching all the students and letting them learn in a way that all students, from our highly gifted students down to our low-functioning students, can be in the same classroom, working together, and being exposed to the same knowledge and learning that all peers, so that all peers across the grade levels are getting the same exposure.
My name is Betsy Evers. I teach kindergarten at Westside Elementary. Equitable education looks like every child getting what they need to succeed. Not an across the board, this is what everyone gets. It's looking at each child individually and meeting the needs where they're at.
Miss Tiffany Schumer, I teach special ed at the high school, 9 through 12. Equitable education to me looks like giving everybody a fair chance. So it might look different. So some students might be in a different classroom, or they might be in a charter school, they might be in a private school, public school, but kind of finding that niche for the student and how they learn best. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, I like to do a lot of role playing in my classroom. Sometimes I use personal experience a lot because I don't think that there's anybody who's perfect, and I think that we all live under that fallacy that we need to be perfect. So celebrating the quirks, that who we are and what we make and how we act and how we move, those are all things, how we think, those are all things that I think help to make that level playing field. For example, I hurt my hip, and so I had a walker. And the challenges of what you do when you have a disability or when you have something that is holding you back physically was an easy thing to use with the kids. So giving them the opportunity, well, why don't you try this out and see what that's like? And they get a whole different perspective because they're very egocentric. Everything is centered around them. But when you start to look at the equability, it's all the adjustments you have to do. And they start to say, hey, wow, I can see that.
To teach in an equitable education setting, we have a lot of planning to do, so we plan for inclusive practices. It takes a lot of collaboration with co-teachers, teachers' aides, other staff members. We make adaptations and modifications for tasks and assignments, and a lot of times that means blowing up the sheet so my friend Carol can see it better, using a magnifying reader so she can see her books better, things like that. It takes a lot of getting to know the students themselves and what they know already coming into our classroom to kind of know what their goals are. We use flexible seating in our classroom, so it's just very comfortable for the kids. Inclusion and cooperative learning, so the students with disability in my classroom are basically right in working with the other students, and they work with their peers, really treated no differently, and they build relationships. They build relationships with our other students in the classroom.
I try to have as many open-ended activities as I can that students can achieve success at their level, regardless of their level. So try to do different groupings, whether it's partners or small group work. Also try to have choices where students can choose how they want to learn something or practice something, just to ensure success for all.
I have not co-taught either in the general ed classroom, but I join the groups with my students in small activities. We encourage them to be part of the group. We encourage all students to be answering questions and being heard. We also partner read with each of the students that they can read at their level and feel part of the group. We also used Switch, programmed recorded messages, so students could read things that were being said or tell jokes or give messages if they were nonverbal. We also include them in morning meeting activities where they did go noodle, they shared information, they had social interactions.
I'm looking more into individualized learning. I've always done small groups, reading workshop, writer's workshop, guided reading, and just working one-on-one with the students.
First, I really want to establish a good relationship with the student, having a teacher-student relationship, knowing what works best for them before you kind of learn the strategies that you need. That's really what you need to do first. For example, I have a student who he has a really difficult time writing on a piece of paper. So what I do is I always put like problems on a whiteboard, and he solves a problem on the whiteboard, and then we take pictures, and that's how he completes his assignments. So really differentiating. It really depends on what the student is able to do and what really works best with them. So if working hands-on is the way, then that would be what we would do. That would be a strategy that I use.
Excellent. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is really refreshing to see kids interact and celebrate each other. I have a girl in my classroom that has Downs, and she has really opened up a lot of eyes in my classroom. A lot of kids have known her because we switch classes a lot, but it's so much fun to see how they're interacting. Everybody wants to help out, do things, but they also don't do it for her. They encourage her. When we're doing math and we might be studying something that's above her ability level, but we go ahead and transpose it to something else and then make it into games. And kids love to help out and play with her and play those games, and they're still learning, and they're becoming they're getting a higher education because then they're the teacher. And it's very seamless. It's just wonderful.
I see inclusion working every day. I have multiple students who are in the 4K classroom. They are in the classroom all day, every day. They are rarely worked with outside of their classroom. We go right in the classroom and work with them. My first grade student is in his classroom for about half the day, and we've just gradually been increasing the time that he's in the classroom, and he loves being in there, and the students love interacting with him and getting to know him. So I see it both really well. The students who are going into the classroom, they are growing a lot more, and then the students who are in the classroom already, they are expanding their acceptance and really getting to know those kids who they may see in the future just in the community.
Well, inclusion is important anywhere because it creates diversity. And that allows everybody to be creative however they can be. We live in a really diverse world and culture, and it creates a lot of learning opportunities for any student, not only academically but socially. So inclusion is really putting all students in the general education classroom and supporting them to the best of their needs. And that goes back to your equitable education.
Inclusion is working in our building really well with a lot of students. They have positive peer role models that help them behave and have role models for behavior, have positive peer interactions with other kids that they might normally not, and it really helps them feel like they're part of the class and that they're not different than anybody else. Like, everybody learns a different way. And the administration supports us.
Well, I definitely see the students with disabilities succeeding and very happy to be in the classroom. I see them enjoying what they're doing. They are meeting and surpassing their IEP goals. So I definitely see success that way. I hear a lot from their parents about how much their child is learning and growing and how happy they are. And then I see true friendships developing in the classroom. We are supported by our administration and other staff members who just basically allow us to do what we need to do in order to make things work for our students.
I was really excited when they started the journey here in Mauston because I teach first grade, but I also have a daughter who has Down syndrome. She's in the early childhood class right now, but knowing and loving someone who has a disability, you quickly learn that the person is just a person and you want other people to know them as just a person also. So I was super excited when Mauston started this journey. I see it working really well. Kids are excited to know every kid in the building, not just the ones in their classroom, and seeing other kids in segregated classrooms. I see friendships forming. I see kids working together and happy to work together and learn together and play together. My main support comes from Mrs. Scott, our special ed teacher. She and I talk every day and plan and debrief every day. Also, our support staff here at the school are really awesome. They know our kids really well, and they're really good at facilitating success for everybody.
Inclusion is working. It's a work in progress. We really started it with our students about 2 years ago. There's many hurdles that we've encountered, and we worked through some. There's some that we continue to work towards. It's been a very positive learning experience for both the teachers and the students. The teachers from the general ed and core classes, the encores, and us as special education teachers need to get together more often where we collaborate, brainstorm about what the expectations are going to be for each student, how we're going to attain it, and how we assess what is happening in the classroom so adjustments can be made.
Inclusion is working great. Every child is included in and feels like they are part of the daily classroom. We have fantastic support staff here at our school. We're very blessed. And we meet one-on-one when we have students in our classroom with our special needs teachers and work pretty closely with them.
I see inclusion working everywhere. I think taking the kids that might struggle a little more and putting them in a classroom is really beneficial. It kind of gives them that time to use the coping strategies or the strategies they need, whether it be socially or academically, so they're able to be more successful. I'm supported with including students, but with the administration that I have, they're really supportive. If there's something I want to try or there's an activity I want to incorporate in my classroom, they're very understanding and they really help me get the supplies I might need or different things I might need to make that possible.
It has really transformed some of my students into seeing how they were as a kindergartner, and their behavior might not have been as good, and they were pulled out of the classroom quite often. And now that we've included them more, their behavior has gotten so much better because they do have those positive peer role models, and they do have friends in the classroom to help them behave. Like, they'll even say to each other, hey, you shouldn't do that, or let's do this instead, or they really do take care of each other, and it really makes the children who have disabilities, students with disabilities, feel more a part of the group and that they're not different than anybody else, that they can do what the other kids are doing. It might be look a little different, but they can do what they're doing.
So addressing equity and accessibility has allowed 2 of my very special and capable students to demonstrate their abilities in the classroom. So they're able to show what they know. They have proven to just be a complete success story. Their knowledge has increased. Their overall success in meeting their goals has been awesome. We definitely presume competence with them, and we have very high expectations for our learners.
In the past, when kids were segregated in other classrooms, they weren't even having access to their grade level curriculum. So just by being involved in the classroom, you have access and opportunity that was not there before. You also have the chance to make those friendships and to know other people and to make connections that way. This year we had a student move in at the end of January who came from a self-contained classroom. And when he first came to school, he was only able to handle being in our classroom for just a couple minutes. Now he's up to being in our room at least half the day, and he loves to be in the room for rest and read. And we've had to start a rotation sheet because everybody wants to be his reading buddy. And so we don't have too many people crowding around him. Like, everybody wants to work with him and get to know him. And he's in the room doing things with us, and our aide is part of the room too, and just helping out with him and everybody in there. So I see it working really well, and I'm happy that he had that kind of change in his life to go from a self-contained room to our school here.
Addressing the equity and accessibility for one of my students in particular, bringing just the accessibility of a regular education as a possibility, the regular education classroom as a possibility, was such a big change for him because he originally was in a secluded classroom and was never really in the regular education classroom, and he gets super excited and happy when we bring him into the regular ed, and he's more willing to do new things and try new things when he's in the regular education classroom. And the kids who are in the regular education classroom, they actually help the student learn. They want to teach him, read to him, and just be with him. So that has really transformed his education, what it looks like for him in particular. And it's just bringing a whole new area to light for the other kids to learn about, and they're all really excited about it. So that's one positive way that it has really transformed this school in particular.
Completely transformed it, I believe, because now they're part of the class, as I said, and they're learning the same things, and they get additional help in the areas that they need, but they make friends, and they're very much involved with everything that's going on in the classroom.
I think that they feel more included, and when you feel more included, then you can learn better. I think that having that equity and knowing that if you need support that day, you've got it, and it just helps everything more comfortable, make the kids more comfortable, the teachers more comfortable, and learning happens.
It really gives students a fair opportunity to be with everybody, especially with a lot of the students I work with. It's either social or it's academic, and sometimes it's both. So giving them the opportunity to go talk with other students who they might not see very often, or be in the same class.
I think the biggest barriers for us as a school is just continuing to learn about it, more about it. I think we're doing a really good job of inclusion. You know, we have a full inclusion school, but really getting all teachers involved in understanding what it looks like and understanding that they're doing a lot of inclusionary things already, but continuing to learn.
I think there's still some people out there who aren't as flexible or willing to accommodate students with disabilities. Some people just want their classrooms to run a certain way, and sometimes that doesn't always happen, and there's things that we can do to change it up, and there's different strategies that they can use to do different things to help those students. Sometimes we have people who aren't very willing to do that, and we're working really hard at teaching and learning how to accommodate those other students, to accommodate other students. Other barriers I see as some people just, we're trying to really presume competence with the students, and sometimes that's hard for all of us to do, because when we aren't sure if a student is able to do something, we might do something that they already know how to do, but maybe they can't tell us they know how to do it. So we have to get that information from them in a different way. So just being really flexible and trying to get those teachers and those other staff members to come on board with us and learn how to be flexible and learn how to accommodate students on the fly sometimes with problems and like troubleshoot. So.
Thank you.
There are definitely some people who are not quite fully on board with an inclusive setting. They're maybe just not quite comfortable with it yet, or they don't fully understand it and its benefits. So that's something that we're still kind of facing and working to overcome, I guess.
I think that there are some barriers in the acceptance of special education students being in the regular education classroom all the time, or even for part of their day or most of the day. The acceptance could be a barrier by their parents may not be ready to accept that, oh, my kids can learn in the classrooms, because they have been told many times before that their child isn't ready for it. So they feel more comfortable as parents having their child outside of the classroom. So I feel like that's one of the barriers. And then there's really no barrier in the classroom, I feel, because the students are so accepting of all of the new kids that come in, or the kids that are finally getting to come into the classroom more. And the teachers are having great opportunities to learn through different conferences, to learn about inclusion in the classroom and how to teach their students who need the inclusion brought to them. So really I would say that they're getting what the teachers are getting, the support they need by being able to go to the conferences, and everyone works together at the school to make the inclusion possible.
It makes me a little sad, but there are a few staff that I don't think feel that all students belong in the classroom. If you work in a public school, I think you should be there to work with all students, not just the ones that you want in your classroom. So that makes me a little sad, although I will say those people are very far in the minority. I think most people are very happy to see the changes that are taking place. And then just with each new school year and with different students, it's always a juggling of figuring out how much support they need, when they need the support, but that's just a trial and error thing that we seem to be working through pretty well with each new kid and each new school year.
Inclusion for all students is still, as Ann said, in a work in progress. Something always needs to be adapted, looked at, or reconsidered every day. For some students who are very low functioning, it's not always the best situation for more than a short period of time, while other students are in there for full days with support or without support.
It continues to be a progress, and it continues to need to be monitored. We want inclusion for the most part for each student as much as possible, but we need to monitor to see how it's going. Are they making progress? Because we don't want them to become overwhelmed, and if they become frustrated, it can stop the learning. So we have to continuously make sure that whatever situation they're in is the best. Sometimes there's staffing concerns. Doing with inclusion with almost all students now, just a few years ago would be there might be students out in regular ed rooms, but there was always an aide. Now that's not always the case, and a lot of the teachers are, they are responding really well to it, but it is a new frame of how they're working, how they're teaching, how they're meeting each student. So it's a work that we're doing ourselves with the regular ed teachers and working it out, but it's definitely having its positive aspects.
Collaboration, as Ann said, is really important, to get together, just determine what's working, what's not working. on how we can help them and how they can help us, because everybody has good ideas.
What barriers are still existing?
I think we have funding barriers. Sometimes there's not enough money to provide the things that we need to make our classroom inclusive and accessible to all.
The biggest barrier that I have is that not all strategies work for every student, so really finding the best strategy that works, and sometimes that strategy might work really well at first for one time, and then the second time it doesn't work. So that's one of the barriers that I have, just kind of finding a way for a student to always have a strategy to use